Welcome to Narayana online digital classes. This is Srinivas chemistry faculty from Madhapur. Today I would like to discuss about some objective questions based on periodic table. Okay, let us go for the questions. Yes, here we go for the first question. There are four elements P, Q, R and S having atomic numbers Z minus 1, Z, Z plus 1 and Z plus 2 respectively. If the element Q is an inert gas, select the correct answers from the following statements. So, now he has given four elements P, Q, R and S. Okay. Now, the atomic numbers Z minus 1 for P, Z for Q and R is that for Z plus 1 and for S that is Z plus 2. Okay. Now, he has given that the Q is an inert gas. Q is an inert gas. Obviously, the element P is the element before the inert gas is obviously a 7th A group element or 17th group as per the IUPAC. Now, the next immediate element should belongs to first A group element and next one is second A group element. Means alkali metal, R belongs to alkali metals, S belongs to alkali earth metals. So, let us go for the options. P has most negative electron gain enthalpy in the respective period. So, he has asked about the correct answers from the following statements. Now, what is P? 7th A group element. Okay. As we know, the electron gain enthalpies or electron affinities increases from left to right in a period and up to 7th A group elements that growth is there. So, among all the periodic group elements, 7th group elements, 7th A group elements or 17th group elements are having more electron affinity as they are having less size. That is why among the options, first one is the correct one. And R is an alkali metal. Yes, according to the given atomic numbers, first A group element is an alkali. So, R is an alkali metal. S exists in stable plus 1 oxidation state. See here, S is a second A group element, alkaline earth metal and a stable oxidation state for the element S is plus 2 because in second A group elements we have 2 electrons in the outermost shell, thereby by losing those 2 electrons they will get the stable inert gas configuration. So, definitely the oxidation state is plus 2, but he has given plus 1. So, this one is the wrong statement and already as I told you R is an alkali metal. So, this is also right. Among the given options, 1 and 2 are the correct options and third one is the wrong one. Okay. Now, the first option A, 1 and 2 are the correct. So, the correct answer among them is first option, right? Yes. Let us go for the next question. So, here the second question, which of the following pairs is chemically similar? Generally, from 4D series to the 5D series, due to the presence of lanthanoids between them, lanthanoids, which are in lanthanoids, differentiating electron is entering into n-2 f orbital, and f orbital is having poor shielding effect, poor shielding effect of f orbital. Both 4d and 5d elements are having almost similar radii, that is why properties also similar. So this is called as lanthanoid contraction, lanthanoid contraction. So due to lanthanoid contraction, both 4d and 5d series of elements are having similar sizes as well as having same properties. Due to that, it is very difficult to separate them. Okay. So among the given options which belongs to the 4d and 5d is nothing but zirconium and hafnium are having similar in sizes. Therefore, they are having similar properties also. So among the given options, the first option is the correct one, right? Let us go for the next question. Yes, the correct order of the first ionization potential is, the correct order of the first ionization potential. What he has given? Among the given elements, I am writing here each and every element. Neon is the 0 group element. Yes. Chlorine is the 7th A group element. Yes. And phosphorus is 5th A group element. Yes. Sulfur is 6th A group element. Yes, here small mistake, I am going to rub that. Okay. Yes. Here. Yes. 68. Okay. Yes, 60 group element, and aluminum being a 3rd group element, and magnesium being a 2nd group element. See here, from left to right, ionization potentials increases, but we have two exceptional cases at 2nd group elements. 2nd group elements are having more ionization potential than 3rd group elements, as it has stable, completely filled configuration. So when compared with aluminum, magnesium is having more ionization potential. Okay. Now another exceptional case is at 5th group elements. Ionization potential of 5th group elements is more than that of ionization potential of 6th group elements, as it has half filled configuration. It has half filled configuration. Okay. Yes, due to that, generally from left to right, first ionization potentials are increases due to decrease in the size and increase in nuclear charge. But we have two exceptional cases at 2nd A and 5th A. 3rd A group elements having less first ionization potential than 2nd due to completely filled configuration of 2nd A group elements. Based on all these points, and we know that inert gases are having more ionization potential as it has stable octet configuration. Based on all these points, neon will have the more ionization potential, then chlorine, then phosphorus, then sulfur, then magnesium, then aluminum will have the less ionization potential. Okay, so the second option is the correct one. Okay, let us go for the next question. Yes, here the fourth question. Three elements X, Y and Z have atomic numbers X, Y and Z have atomic numbers 19, 37 and 55. Okay. Then the correct statements about these three elements. Their ionization potential would increase with increasing atomic numbers. Generally, these elements are nothing but potassium, second A group element, and as a atomic, see here, all the elements are belongs to the second A group elements as per the atomic number. So as down the group, as atomic number increases, atomic size also increases, thereby ionization potential values decreases. Ionization potential values decreases down the group as size of the atom increases. So their ionization potential would increase with increasing atomic number is the wrong statement, because increasing atomic number. So 19 is the potassium, and the next 37 is rubidium, 55 is the cesium. So cesium is having lowest ionization potential in the group. Okay, so this is the wrong statement. Now, Y would have an ionization potential between those of X and Y, X and Z. Yes. So as from down the group ionization potential decreases, X will have highest ionization potential and Z will have least ionization potential. So ionization potential of X is greater than ionization potential of Y is greater than ionization potential of Z. Is it okay? So definitely the ionization potential of Y should be in between the ionization potential of X and Y. So this statement is the correct one. Now Y would have the highest ionization potential, but according to the group, variation in group, ionization potential decreases down the group. So X will have more ionization potential as I gave the order here. Based on that, this is the wrong option. Now coming to option D, Z would have the highest ionization potential, but Z will have the least ionization potential as the last element in the group having more atomic size. Okay. Yes, among the four options, the B1 is the correct one. Let us go for the next question. Okay. Yes, the effective nuclear charge on the added electron in F atom in the formation of a negative ion. Yes, so generally fluorine has what is the configuration? 1s2, 2s2, 2p5. Yes, what is the atomic number here? 9 for fluorine. And for F minus is having 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 because one electron is added. Now for that added electron, how can we find the effective nuclear charge? So effective nuclear charge can be calculated by using the formula Z minus sigma, where sigma is the screening constant or shielding constant. Okay. How can we find the screening constant? That can be found by using Slater rules. Slater rules. Okay. So now for that I am calculating sigma. The electrons present in N in S and P orbitals, sigma value is 0.35. So 5 into 0.35 plus, sorry, we have how many electrons? 7 electrons are there. Sorry, here we have in outermost 7 electrons are there. So here we can take 7 electrons. Okay, yes. Right. So 7 into 0.35 plus n minus 1. This is the outermost and this is the penultimate shell. We have only 2 electrons. 2 into 0.85 is the screening constant for the electrons present in the penultimate shell. Okay. Now by calculating this, we'll have the value, and by substituting this value in the above equation, we'll get the effective nuclear charge is 4.85. Okay, do the calculation whatever. Yes, we'll get this answer, and the right option is 4.85. Yes, okay. Let us go for the next question. Yes, if electronegativity of beryllium be 3.2 and that of the 2.2, the percentage ionic character of A is, if electronegativity of an element, say here he didn't give the element here, we can take some element A, and here another element B. Electronegativity of 2 elements are given. Then how can we find the electronegative difference between those 2 elements A and B? So we can find the percentage ionic character by using the formula percentage ionic character. Percentage ionic character is equal to 16 into delta plus, okay, 3.5 into delta square. What is delta here? Yes, here delta is nothing but electronegativity of A minus electronegativity of B, nothing but difference in electronegativity. So that is nothing but 3.2 minus 2.2. So that should be equal to 1. Now percentage ionic character is equal to 16 into 1 plus 3.5 into 1 square, whatever it may be, 19.5%. So that is the percentage ionic character in the bond formed between the A and the elements A and B. Okay, so the correct option is A. Let us go for the next question. Yes, here I am going to the next question. Yes, the electronegativity of carbon from the following data is nearly what he has given. The data he has given is bond energy of HH was given, carbon-carbon single bond energy was given, carbon-hydrogen single bond energy was given. Okay, then how can we find the electronegativity difference? Electronegativity difference. So here Xc minus Xh, where Xc is the electronegativity of carbon, Xh is the electronegativity of hydrogen. Yes, that should be equal to, yes, if the energy, bond energies are given in kilocalories, we have to take 0.208 into bond energy of CH minus 1/2 into bond energy of Cc plus bond energy of HH whole power 1/2. Okay. Now by substituting all the values here, electronegativity of C minus what is the electronegativity of hydrogen has given? That is, yes, he has given here, that is 2.1 is equal to 0.208 into CH bond energy. What is that? 98.8 minus 1 by 2 into what is the C single bond C energy? 83.1 kilocalories plus hydrogen single bond energy is 104.2 whole power 1 by 2. Okay. By doing calculation, we will have electronegativity of carbon is equal to 2.5. By doing the calculation, we have electronegativity of carbon is 2.5 as among the given options. Option C is the correct one. Okay. Let us go for the next question. Right. Yes, the percentage ionic character, yes. Already in the previous questions, one of the previous question, already I told you the formula for the percentage ionic character. So, percentage ionic character, if a bond is formed between two different atoms having some difference in electronegativity, definitely the bond is called as a polar bond. Some ionic character is also present to the for that bond. Okay. Now percentage ionic character is nothing but, okay, formula 16 into delta plus 3.5 into delta square. Already I told you this formula. Okay, where delta I is equal to electronegativity difference between the two atoms, between the two bonded atoms. Okay, na? Two bonded atoms. So, right, if I substitute the value percentage ionic character is equal to 16 into what is the delta here? How can we find delta? Where delta is equal to electronegativity difference between two. So, we can take a modulus of electronegativity difference. So, I can take 2.8 minus 2.1, that is equal to 0.7 by substituting the value here. So, 16 into 0.7 plus 3.5 into 0.7 whole square. Okay. Now, by calculating that, I will get 12.9% here. So, among the given options, option A is the correct one. Okay, right. Now, let us go for the next question. Yes. If the same element is forming oxides in different oxidation states, okay, then that oxide will be neutral in nature, in which element will be in its highest oxidation state. For example, same element means I am taking one example here for better explanation. For example, I am taking nitrogen, or I can take carbon itself. Okay, carbon, it can form CO as well as CO2. Okay, so see here, CO is the neutral oxide. What is the oxidation state of that one? Here oxidation state is +2, but CO2, which can dissolve in water, it can dissolve in water, and when CO2 is dissolved in water, what is the compound formed here? H2CO3. What is this? This is carbonic acid. Carbonic acid. So, if an oxide of an element forms an acid when dissolved in water, this is called acidic oxide. Acidic oxide. So it forms two oxides, but carbon monoxide does not dissolve in water, so it does not form any acidic or basic solution. That is why it is called as the neutral oxide. So here in CO2 the oxidation number is +4. So higher oxidation number always more acidic in nature. Whatever the example you can take. Okay, Nana? So that oxide will be neutral in nature, in which element will be in its highest oxidation state. But if it is in highest oxidation state, the element should be acidic. So this is the wrong option. Now coming to the second one, statement 2, that oxide will be highest acidic in nature, in which element will be in its highest oxidation state. Yes, as I show the example in case of carbon highest oxidation number +4, as it belongs to the 4th A group element. Okay, so that is more acidic, highest acidic nature when it is in highest oxidation state. So yes, this is the right option. Now coming to the third one, that oxide will be amphoteric in nature, in which element will be in its highest oxidation state. So any element, if it is present in its highest oxidation state, that should not be amphoteric in nature, that should be strongly acidic in nature. Okay, so especially representative elements and p block elements can show variable oxidation state. For example, for first A and second A group elements, they show a fixed oxidation numbers +1 and +2 for first A and second A group elements. So variable oxidation states mainly exhibited by the p block elements, thereby for the highest oxidation state that should form acidic one. So this was wrong option, wrong statement. That oxide will be highly basic in nature, in which element will be in its highest oxidation state. See here, if it is present in its highest oxidation state, definitely polarizing power is there. Electronegativity difference between oxygen, yes. Based on the, for example, I am taking an element AOH. See here, electronegativity difference between O and H is delta X1. If it is element between it is delta X2, then if delta X1 is greater than delta X2, that should be acidic, because the bond was broken here when dissolved in water. If delta X1 is less than delta X2, then that is basic solution, because the bond was broken here when dissolved in water. So based on that electronegativity differences between the element and oxygen to the hydrogen, we can say whether the solution is acidic or basic. So if it is present in its higher oxidation state, definitely more electronegativity is there. So that should be acidic, no doubt at all. So the option D is also wrong option. So the correct option is B. Okay. Next question. Yes. The next question. The XX bond length, yes, bond length he was given. Bond length of a bond present between X and X is 1 angstrom unit. So based on that we can find the radius. Radius is nothing but in a molecule covalently bonded with two similar atoms. Okay, so we can take that bond length, half of the bond length we can take as the atomic radius of that atom. So radius of X should be 1 angstrom unit by 2, that is equal to 0.5 angstrom unit, right? Now bond length of CC, carbon-carbon bond length, he has given how much it is? Yes, 1.54 angstrom units, so that we can write the radius of carbon is equal to 1.54 by 2, that is equal to 0.77 angstrom units. Now electronegativity difference. So x c minus x that should be equal to 1. Okay? Yes, electronegativity difference. Now, how can we find the Cx bond length is likely to be? If electronegativity difference is there, then we can calculate the bond length by using the formula. Yes, distance of Cx is equal to radius of x plus radius of C minus 0.09 into delta, where delta is the electronegativity difference. So dCx is equal to how much here? 0.5 plus 0.77 minus 0.09 into 1 it is. Is it okay? Yes. Yeah. Now the distance here, d is the distance, and how can we calculate it? Is 1.27 minus 0.09. By calculating this, the bond length of Cx, bond length of Cx is 1.18 angstrom units. Is it okay? Yes. So among the given, the second option was the correct option, right? So this is the end of this session. Thank you so much.